The 2026 election is literally coming up around the corner. Yeah, we got a primary to get through, but holy moly, it's going to be November 2026 before we know it. Midterm elections for Congress, but you've also got the Illinois governor race and races for other statewide constitutional officers, plus members of the Illinois House up for election and members of the Illinois Senate. You might find a race in your area where you've got some choices to make. So what's going on, and what does the political calculation lead to in a state like Illinois? We're going to delve into that here with Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. You can like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell and wake up with us each and every weekday morning for the live chat. It's always an active bunch in there, but let's get to it, right? So March 17th is the primary for the Republicans and the Democrats to find out who they want their candidate to be in the November election. You've got seats in Congress up for grabs. You've got an Illinois U.S. Senate seat up for grabs, with U.S. Senator Dick Durbin not seeking another term. You've got every Illinois state house seat up for grabs every 2 years. You've got several Illinois Senate seats up for grabs for the state legislature. Plus, you've got the governor election. But in Illinois, Republicans are the super minority, even though you've got close to 45% of the voters in Illinois in 2024 voting for Donald Trump. That doesn't play over into the makeup of the U.S. Congress from Illinois. 14 Democrats, 3 Republicans for U.S. Congress from Illinois. When you look at the state house representation, that nearly 45% vote for Trump in 2024 does not translate over to how many Republicans there are in the House and Senate at the state legislature. And a lot of people pointing to, well, that's because Illinois' maps, not just the congressional maps, but even the state house maps, are woefully gerrymandered. So Republicans prognosticating on what 2026 might look like. Last weekend, I was in Dallas, Texas, covering the State Freedom Caucus National Summit, and Illinois Freedom Caucus members were there, and they shared some of their thoughts. You'll hear from State Senator Andrew Chesney, State Representative Chris Miller, State Representative Brad Halbrook, Adam Niemerg, Blaine Wilhauer, David Freese. So here's just some of what they had to say about what could happen in the 2026 election. And is the Illinois Republican Party ready for it?
Not right now, no. It needs to do better. As Republicans, we're, like I said, we're the North Star of conservatism here in the state of Illinois, and some of our Republican colleagues, they feel that they've got to placate to the left. And I think that we need to show the difference between us and the left, just like what Governor Ron DeSantis did down in Florida. And I think that's the pathway to victory. Now, it's going to take a lot of money. We need infrastructure. We need to chase down low propensity Republican voters like they did in Pennsylvania. But right now, I'll be honest with you, the Republican Party is splintered because the establishment can't admit, as Chris said, that they have a problem leaning to the left.
Well, we got to remember that the state of Illinois, the minority party, has not been run by a bunch of conservatives. It's run by a bunch of establishments that continue to lose. And so we get lectured almost daily by the establishment on what we need to do to win, but they don't produce or yield a result that's winning, right? I mean, our numbers keep going down. And so I might suggest that they take a look at the party that they put on that they say they belong to, and just follow the party platform. The reason the Freedom Caucus, again, exists is because they don't follow the party platform, specifically their tax policies, their energy policies, etc. And so the reason that we can't differentiate ourselves between the Democrat Party is the leadership has joined them on virtually every major initiative that has screwed the taxpayers, right? I mean, the Freedom Caucus exists because when the establishment and the Democrats get together, establishment Republican Democrats get together, the taxpayers are going to get injured, right? And so, what does 2026 look like? In the state of Illinois, it's a challenge because we don't have the bold leadership like we see in Florida, like we see in other states. And so they're going to suggest it's because they don't have the right candidate. They don't follow the party platform, and the people, the leadership within the party is only splintered because what they say in their districts isn't how they vote in Springfield.
And that's just some of the voices from the Illinois Freedom Caucus on what they see possibly happening in 2026. Doesn't sound very promising, but Illinois being a blue state, there's a question I posed to leaders of 13 different state freedom caucuses during a news conference last Saturday in Dallas, Texas. And Republican State Representative Chris Miller shared his thoughts on how they get through being in the super minority, trying to get their thoughts across.
I know that one of our mottos is always be messaging. You know, the Democrat Party is a petri dish of bad ideas, and so they roll out something almost moment by moment. And right now, the issue of crimes, making national news on a daily basis. And, in order to fix a problem, you have to admit that you have a problem in order to achieve a solution. And so far, our governor and the mayor of Chicago has been gaslighting the people. They've just been flat out lying to them and say there's no story here. I mean, in my mind anyway, just from a common sense approach to it, is if I had over 60 people getting shot in my community over the Labor Day weekend, I would think we have a problem. And so, and there were 8 fatalities. That's a huge problem. And I mean, the thing that I see about our governor is he's missing a great opportunity to be a hero, to actually cooperate with ICE, to actually cooperate with the President of the United States in order to fix this problem. But yet he's blowing his opportunity by pretending that there's not a problem. And in my mind, he's got the worst case of Trump derangement syndrome that I think that I've ever seen exhibited. And the only thing that's going to fix this thing is for him to have an ICRR. I don't know if you know what that is or not, but it's an intracranial rectal removal. In other words, what we would say down on the farm is he needs to get his head out of his ass and start governing and doing what's right for the people of Illinois. And so that's all I have to say about that.
Again, that's State Representative Chris Miller reacting to being a Republican in a Democrat-dominated state. Will that type of thing get across? Are the voters receptive to messages like that? Again, interesting question, but obviously one thing that is a part of politics, campaign cash. And if you go to thecentersquare.com, you'll see the headline. State Representative says Illinois GOP will be outspent 20-1 in 2026. State Representative John Cabello sharing that sentiment with the America Legislative Exchange Council, and you can go and watch that again at the Center Square, where Cabello talks about the campaign spending. But one thing I do want to look at here is the campaign spending in general. So we pulled up some of the numbers from Illinois Sunshine, and this is from Reform for Illinois, and you can see here the Democratic Party of Illinois, they have $708,000 on hand. This is just for the statewide party. In the statewide party, they give campaign contributions to members of their party, and in particular, Democrats are going to give the Democrats. But the Republican Party, they also have reporting that they have to do through the State Board of Elections. And you could see here, the Republican Party at this point has cash on hand, $896,000. So the Democrats, again, 708, according to Reform for Illinois Sunshine. And then Republicans, close to $900,000. So slight advantage over the Democrats at this point from the most recent quarterly report. But let's look at what Governor J.B. Pritzker has cash on hand, $2.4 million. And again, the governor is a billionaire and has self-funded his campaign and has also given to millions of dollars to Democrats all up and down the ballot and even out of state. I mean, look at this. Total donated from J.B. Pritzker to his campaign, $348,000. $348,000. And some of the other in the Democratic Party of Illinois, $8.6 million. So you're talking a lot of money here spread all throughout this. But so while we're looking at the governor and his campaign totals, as far as campaign cash on hand, what about some of the potential challengers? You've got DuPage County Sheriff Jim Mendrick, who announced several weeks ago, a couple of months ago, actually, I think he announced way back in April, that he was going to run for governor to get the Republican nomination. Looking at his campaign coffer, he's got $111,000 on hand. $111,000 campaign cash. Somebody else that is expected to announce. I haven't seen the official announcements. Could be sometime before the end of the week. We shall see. But Ted Dabrowski looking to get the Republican nomination. How much money does he have on hand? Let's take a look at his campaign listing here. All right. So Dabrowski for governor, $1 million on hand. So Dabrowski has 10 times more the amount of money on hand than Mendrick. Also interesting to note, Dabrowski has Jason Plummer as the chair of his campaign committee. Jason Plummer, a Republican state senator. So the donations that are coming in, you can see Dabrowski gave himself $250,000. That lifts the cap for donations. So you've got others who are pouring six figures into Dabrowski's campaign. Is that something that's going to get him through the primary? And some political thinking is that Republicans should keep their powder dry during the primary so they could save up going into the general election. But you will see a lot of money spent amongst individual campaigns expended during a political campaign for a primary to ultimately get to the general election, and then their campaign chest is depleted, and you go up against somebody like Governor J.B. Pritzker, a billionaire who has given himself $350 million since he started his political career back in 2018. That's a lot of money to have to contend with. So these are the types of things we're going to be looking at as we go through to the March primary, and then as we go through to the November general midterm election. What a fascinating time it's going to be, and hopefully you'll join us here each and every weekday morning as we bring you Illinois in Focus Daily. Get the headlines in your inbox, go to thecentersquare.com, sign up for the newsletter, and again, wake up with us here each and every weekday morning for Illinois in Focus Daily.